Hello everyone, my name is Ryan. Welcome back to another video. Today I decided to do something a little bit different. I haven't done a video like this before, but I think it could be really fun and hopefully kind of informative for you guys who are stepping out of YA and going into more adult books or looking for more adult titles. So as you can tell by the title of this video, I am going to be recommending some adult books if you predominantly read YA literature. As you can tell by my background and just if you've been on this channel for a while now, I mostly read YA. Like, it's pretty much the genre that I read the most of, it's what I like to read, it's what I enjoy, it's what I'm most typically exposed to. But that being said, I am 20 years old, I am turning 21 in May, and I have noticed that my reading tastes have started to develop a little bit more and I want to read about a little bit older characters, and I'm starting to go into the world of adult literature, which was kind of scary the first time that I realized, oh my god, I want to read an adult book? What? So I figured this might be a fun video for you guys who are in similar boats or just want to explore a little bit more of adult literature. So I'm just gonna go straight into recommending some books for you if you typically read YA. The first book I want to mention on here is a contemporary if you're into that kind of thing. It's not typically the type of book that I reach for, but this is one of my favorite contemporaries of all time, and it is The Runaway Princess by Hester Brown. I've talked about this book quite a couple times on my channel. It was actually in my top 10 favorite books of all time video, so you can tell I really like this. This follows an adult woman named Amy who lives in London, or England. I don't know if she really lives in London per se, but Amy's new boyfriend is actually like the 9th most eligible royal bachelor in the world, and that's a lot to handle, and it's about her kind of realizing that she's dating a prince and all of like the media hype that goes around that, while also trying to like be her own person, have her own life, have her own job. It is a lot, it's a very like good self-love novel and also like independence novel, because she definitely still wants to have her persona outside of her relationship with Leo. It's a very good relationship that she has with Leo. I think it's really quite romantic myself. It is definitely kind of more like a romance contemporary. If you are concerned about sexual scenes, it's been a while since I read this, but I'm pretty sure there is, I would say there's like nothing graphic in this. I'd say it's maybe like PG-13, but it's nothing R, so if you don't like reading sex scenes, don't worry. From what I remember, there like isn't any like really defined stuff in here, so that's something to be aware of, because I know some people are afraid of going into adult because they don't want to read that type of stuff. So if you are a little bit hesitant about that, you don't have to worry about it in this book. The next adult book I have to recommend for you guys is if you are into magic and witches, and I actually don't have the first book here with me. I have the second one, which is what I'm going to show up, but it is the Discovery of Witches trilogy by Deborah Harkness. This is the second book, Shadow of Night. I very recently read Discovery of Witches, and I loved it. The Discovery of Witches is about this witch named Diana Bishop who wants nothing to do with her magical heritage. She just wants to be a human and ignore all of that. But unfortunately, she is kind of doing some research in Oxford, and one of the books that she pulls from the stacks in this library is this ancient manuscript that people have been looking for centuries. And she just kind of pulls it out and opens it, and everyone's like, how the hell did you do that? And she's all like, I don't want a thing to do with this, but now everybody wants this book, and apparently I'm the only one who can open it, and it's a really good book. It's really, really good. It's got one of my favorite fictional boyfriends, Matthew Claremont, in it, and I would just really recommend that you look into it. The next book is probably one that you have definitely heard of before, if not read yet, and it is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, the first book in the Shades of Magic or Shades of London trilogy. I've only read the first book, and it was gorgeous, and I really loved it. This book I would definitely rate more of like a PG-13. There isn't really anything graphic by any means at all. Like, at all. So you don't have to worry about that. I can't say much for the next two books because I'm pretty sure there are some things in there, but I don't know how graphic they are, so take that with a grain of salt as well. But this is another really great magic story. The main character, Kel, is a blood magician, and he has the ability to pretty much transport himself between these different parallel Londons that exist with varying degrees of magic. There's Red London, who which is where Kel is from, which is thriving and really powerful and full of magic. There is Grey London, which is basically our world's London, so, you know, no magic at all. And then there is White London, which has some magic, but they're very hungry for it, very kind of like a cruel world. And Kel is basically just supposed to transport letters between the royal families, but he also kind of smuggles some stuff on the side, and that gets him into a load of trouble. I really loved it. It was a really great kind of like slow build into the trilogy because it is adult, but it doesn't quite feel like it just yet. Kel is a relatively young adult protagonist. I think he's like 20, 22. Lila is like 19, I think, when the series starts. So yeah, but this was really good, and I would also recommend you look into this one if you want more of adult things. The next book I have to show you guys is more adult urban fantasy, so it's a little bit on the like higher fantasy side. Not like super epic fantasy, but it is a little bit, it takes a little bit to get used to the world, and that is Written and Read by Anne Bishop. I have only read the first book in this series. I think there are 4 or 5 out currently. I have books 1, 2, and then 4. And this is just, I really liked Written and Read, and like I want to get into the next book, Murder of Crows, soonish, but I don't know when it's going to happen. So I would rate this probably a PG-13 as well. There is nothing incredibly graphic in it. It does use foul language if you are not into that type of thing. But in this book, there really isn't any type of sex. So if that's something that you're not into, it's not in this book, might be in later books, I don't know yet. There is foul language though if you don't particularly like curse words, in which case I'm sorry that I use them so often. This book follows a girl named Meg who is a blood prophet, which basically means every time her skin is cut deep enough to draw blood, she can see the future. Typically, it's the future of who's ever in the same room as her. So Meg escapes from this guy called the Controller, who's been holding her captive and cutting her and selling her prophecies and visions off to basically the highest bidder, and she goes and hides in this courtyard for the others, and this is where the world gets a little bit complex. It's basically Earth, except humans occupy it with the people known as the Others, or like Terra something or other. I don't really remember what the word is. And they're basically really powerful, like, just different types of mythical beings. Like, Simon Wolfguard is a shapeshifter, and he can turn into a wolf, but I wouldn't classify him as a werewolf type thing. There are also vampires, and they can kind of turn into mist. It sounds very complex as I'm telling this to you, and it is a little bit difficult to kind of, like, figure out exactly what is going on in the world, but the first couple chapters really help kind of, like, explain what's going on. The Others live in segregated courtyards out near human towns and cities, because basically we humans exist out of the kindness of the others' hearts, because they could eat us if they really wanted to, and in fact they quite like to. And so Meg goes and hides in this courtyard to save herself from the Controller, and it's a really great book. I've heard it does have a slow burning romance, so I imagine at some point there will be sex scenes. If that is not something you are into, again, just keep that in mind. I don't know quite yet because I've only read the first book, but in the first book there is nothing incredibly graphic. So, but I really like this. And then the last adult book I would recommend you look into if you really like high fantasy things is, you know, just a classic, George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones. I've read Game of Thrones and I've read Clash of Kings. I have not read the others just because I kind of like fell out of the Game of Thrones phase, but I feel like I'm kind of going back into it. I don't know why, but I just really got a craving to figure out what is going on with Jaime Lannister in particular. Nobody else, just Jaime. I don't know why. Typically I'm like Tyrion. I want to know what's going on with Tyrion, and like Sansa, and like Sandra Clegane, but nope. All I want to know right now is what's going on with Jaime. For no reason. Basically, if you have never heard of Game of Thrones, which would really surprise me, this book is rated R. I'm going to tell you that right now. And it follows a bunch of families as they pretty much try to take over the Iron Throne, which is basically just the throne of this like entire kingdom called Westeros. You have like the Starks, the Baratheons, the Lannisters, the Targaryens, the Freys, the the Tullys. Like, you have so many different families. There's a lot to remember in these books. There's a lot of violence, a lot of nudity, a lot of sex, so if that's not something you're into, you probably shouldn't read these. But, like, I did still really enjoy them. I would almost recommend you watch a bit of the show and then see if you want to read the books, because the books, you're in for the long haul, my friend. This first book was published the year I was born, 1996, and he's still not done with the series. I think there's like 6 books out, and it's supposed to be like 8 or something. I don't know, but just be aware that you're in for the long haul. Be aware that it is definitely something I would rate R, but it is still good if you want something high fantasy, politically driven. This is like what I would consider, like, if you are like really looking into getting way into adult, then this. Maybe not start with this, but think about it. Right, so those are some of my personal recommendations for adult books for typically YA readers. These are basically all of the books that I started reading to get me into adult literature, and I've really been happy that I've been reading more of adult things because the characters are more my age, I understand their motivations a little bit more, and I'm just having a lot of fun reading adult stuff. And I've got so many other like adult books now that I get to read and experience, and I'm really excited about it because I love YA, clearly, but sometimes I get tired about reading about 16-year-olds because I feel out of touch with them, but this is what I want, and I'm really happy with this. So, in a comment down there, if you've read an adult book that you think I would enjoy, please let me know the title, or if you are, thinking about reading adult books, let me know. I'd love to hear it. Be sure to give this video a big like if you enjoyed it. My social media links are down there as always: Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads, all of that fun stuff. Yeah, hit that red subscribe button to keep seeing more of my videos, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!